Well, hello there!
Hey.
Hey, everyone. Adobe live streamers. Hello to the live streaming, watching community.
Yeah.
Everyone that's watching live. We're streaming live here from San Francisco. Where are you, all of you from? I am Sam Anderson. We are streaming here from San Francisco. I'm a designer on the XD team. Adobe XD, that is. And we have Julian Crespo here to join us. Actually, one of my classmates that we graduated together.
Yeah, we not too long ago either.
Not too long ago.
So I'm Julian Crespo. I'm an experienced designer working here contracting, making a plugin for Adobe XD. And Sam has been my friend and also like champion for the work that I'm doing. And
champion. Whoa.
Yes, champion. Just really helpful in being able to guide some of the nuances of XD since he's been here for a long time.
Wow.
Since XD has been a thing almost, pretty much. But yeah, today we're gonna be talking about XD plugins and the world of plugins that is like this universe of expansion that is really kind of enriching everybody's experience in ways that people want. More variety of ways to use it. So we got people joining in the chat.
Oh my gosh.
Look at that. Yeah, I'm back.
Anna, Marianne, hello. Tim, welcome back. Julia, always tuning in.
Yes.
Wow, I love the people that just keep coming back, and some people that I haven't seen before. Bojana, nice to meet you. Hello, Monura. You've tuned into many streams before, so it's great to see you again. We're diving into plugins because. For this stream, because there's some new interesting updates that came just as of this week, Tuesday. There was a new announcement for what plugins can do, which was really exciting, and actually is living in the space that you've been living in the past few months, kind of under covers, right?
Yeah, so if you haven't updated your XD, please do. You don't have to do it now, but eventually it's important to do because you now have access to more features.
Version 22?
22?
Yeah. Look at all those names. Oh my God.
Yeah, your name's on there.
Yeah,
you're actually the first one.
It's alphabetical.
I wanted to give you more credit.
Yeah. It's funny because they added so for the longest time I wasn't on this credits list.
Yeah.
And so I was like, maybe I should just mention it to them to add it. But I was still an intern. So I was like, oh, fine. Because I'd interned on this team for a while, right? I was like, I should probably add it. I kind of want my name in the credits, right?
You deserve
it. So I add it, and then I noticed it was the first name. I was like, I didn't want that much credit. I felt like I was frozen, and then I realized it's it's alphabetical.
You made it. Yeah. So Jaideep, you have a list of plugins. We're gonna give you some more plugins today, and Wakar wants corn dogs.
Oh my gosh.
So maybe we can come up with a corn dog plugin for you.
There are no corn dogs today, unfortunately. I think I'm corn dogged out after 4 hours of corn dog.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the appropriate amount of time for designing for corn dogs, I think. Nothing wrong with corn dogs.
Anything on a stick.
Oh, okay. Yeah. XD on a stick?
Let's do that.
Okay. Can that be a plugin?
Yep, I think it can be.
Okay, totally.
So, we're sharing my screen. So let's switch over to Sam's. Gonna demo some ideas on what plugins we're using.
Exactly, and so for that new piece, the new piece of the puzzle, to alliterate, is this panel. The piece of the puzzle is the panel, is what we're talking about with the plugins.
Yep.
That is so many words that start with P. Okay. The new piece of the puzzle for plugins is the panel, which is over here on the left. You can get to it with this little puzzle piece. No, it's a Lego piece. And so this is what we're calling the launch pad. And these are all the plugins that you can install. If you have none, you can just click this little plus button.
Yeah.
And here are all of our plugins. They're automatically sorted by latest release. So all of these plugins at the top should theoretically be updated for our panel UI. So what this looks like is that previously plugins just looked like, you can come up here, you can run the plugin like this, and you have like a dialogue that comes down and you interact with your plugin that way. But we have upgraded where we know that a lot of designers want to be designing right alongside the canvas, just as if they were native controls. And so like this one, which is like a calendar plugin, really simple stuff here, but making a calendar is a pain.
It's very tedious.
All the boxes, if you're like doing any kind of scheduling.
And even with repeat grid, it's still a lot of work.
Yeah, so we could, we can make our own plugin of custom dimensions here. You can customize the date. Boom, make calendar. Whoa, that's huge. It's a huge calendar, guys. Okay, maybe not so big, maybe not 500 by 300, but you get the idea. Look, you have a calendar, and you can customize the colors and everything. So maybe like 50 by 50 is a more reasonable size. Look.
Yeah.
And look, all these elements done for you. So plugins are great for automation, don't you think? Right? They can automate a lot of tasks, but then there are some that are like uploading your assets to other clouds. And what's great is that that's all just in the panel here. So not bad.
Yeah, so you're still getting the same experience, but now you're able to work side by side, as opposed to having a modal that takes over your screen and kind of takes over your viewpoint of how to actually interact with the artboard. So by having that panel, it just gives us more flexibility to actually use XD and the plugin itself, which is something that I was really thankful for when thinking about the way the plugin I'm designing is, because you need to be able to access both things at once. So it was kind of a deal breaker for my plugin to even exist in a modal.
Yeah, it was.
It needed the plugin panel to actually exist. So that is a big reason why we're here and talking about this new interaction.
Absolutely. Just to show off some other ones that have really benefited from this new panel UI. This is UI Faces. Some of you might know of this one. It's quite a popular one, but I have some circles here. I can just with them selected, add faces to my design. Like if I'm designing avatars or testimonials or something where I'm bringing in like real user like information. Boom, just like that, easy. And then perhaps I just want faces all over my design. So I can use the confetti plugin. So I can make like 7 rows by like 7 rows, randomize rotation, randomize scale, enable depth of field blur. This is gonna kind of be a lot, but let's see. Whoa! Now we have faces everywhere.
Yes, confetti faces.
That's a fun one. Look, and then we have our calendar. Look, this is a plugin. This is a design made completely by plugins. It's not like we don't have to do anything.
And by having that panel, you're able to like visualize it at the same time.
Yeah.
Which is great.
So the confetti plugin is really fun if, it's kind of one of those trends lately where you have like the geometric shapes.
Right.
You could just confetti that and it's just like, it splatters it for you.
And then if you wanted to like take this as a launchpad to make it even more interactive, you can duplicate the artboard, move things around, and then do auto animate.
Yeah, that would be like, imagine what that could be like if you duplicate it. If you know how auto animate works, then you know that all you have to do is duplicate things and just move things around and like things start like working. And so like we can wire these two artboards up where they have the same element.
Yep.
Tap, animation, or no, transition, auto animate, and we can start getting some like weird and wacky results.
Do it slow. Slow it down a little bit. Let me see what it looks like on like a 3 second.
3 second. 3 seconds would be way better. Wow. Look at that. You can like.
Yeah.
What are we even designing right now?
This is the future.
This is the future right here. Okay. Sarah said somebody broke Sam. Like, what in the world is he designing? A calendar with faces. I mean, this is what happens on Adobe Live, right?
Yeah. In order to live, you need to break.
Yeah, absolutely. This is how the XD team operates. We're always pushing the boundaries of what is an experience.
What is an experience and what is a good design? And I think in order to get to a good design, you have to make bad designs, and you have to experiment.
Oh, absolutely. You have to. In fact, your first few designs are going to be bad.
Yeah. And that's okay.
That is okay.
Yeah.
I think designers need to be better at accepting that we're bad designers.
And this is where
well, at least at first. Right?
And this is where like the paradigm is going to change about like live editing and being able to see like what you're working on while you're working on it.
Because that takes a certain vulnerability. Like if you're working on something and someone can see it as you're working, like you have to be vulnerable in exposing like your workflow right on the fly.
Right.
A lot of designers will kind of, they're afraid of that, right? They'll break away their file into a separate place, even if it's like Google Docs, right? They'll write their paragraph in another document, then paste it in. Have you found yourself doing that? Anyone in the chat?
Well, so I remember when I was using the tool that I'm not using anymore, it was the spell check was a big problem, and I would always type all my of my typeface like copy into a Google Doc because it has spell check, Grammarly, and all types of like just ways to know I'm not typing like gibberish.
Yeah.
But now with XD, I don't do that anymore because it has spell checking integrated, which is great. So it allows me to just type right into the doc. But designing outside is something that people always do. Like they'll have to create a branch and only let people see their polished work. But yeah, I think as we now change how we're working, being more public with what our bad designs look like is completely fine.
Yeah, and I think it's just part of the communication pipeline. So yeah, I think it's part of how our role as designers is changing as the tools are changing too, which is really interesting. Yeah. As you can see, there's lots of other plugins happening here. So crazy stuff happening in the plugin world. Julian is designing a plugin this summer.
I am.
Yeah.
So let's show them the how if you're interested in making a plugin, you can. And this is where like the true power of this segment comes in, is to give you an understanding of the potential of what you can do as a maker, as a designer. If you're interested in coding, or you just have a really great idea that you want to start working on, this is going to walk you through how to make a plugin.
Yeah, absolutely. So this website, which is AdobeXDplatform.com, that is the name of our resources here, and this is all the documentation. Some of it is quite complex in terms of the actual like plugin development side of it and the API capabilities. So some of this might be steep if you're not familiar with the coding landscape. But there is, but you don't have to know how to code to design a plugin, right?
You don't. It does help.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're able to because so the reason why I say it you don't have to know, but it does help to understand the limitations because when you're thinking about this Extensibility API, which is what the XD platform is built on, it's a way for us to think outside of the features that are inside of XD and build upon it. But you need to know the constraints.
Yeah,
exactly. And so as a designer, you need to read through these guidelines and some of the possibilities of this API, because it can't do everything.
Yeah, and so you found yourself running into some of those roadblocks.
Yeah, and I'll be showing you some of those those examples in a sec. And that's kind of like one of the first steps you have to take to understanding. You can't just blue sky think a plugin and it's gonna work. Like you have to really think about like strategically what you're actually gonna.
But we are gonna do some blue sky today. Maybe.
We are, yes.
But we do have some understanding around what these plugins can do.
Yeah.
In terms of like, they can access APIs. There are lots of services out there that can access APIs, and maybe we can think about workflows around that. Paco, our chat isn't updating live, I don't think. It's not scrolled all the way to the bottom.
Mayen, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. It does support JavaScript. And so you're able to, so React.js is kind of like what most people are using to create plugins, and so cool, JavaScript is part of it. So feel free to, if you know JavaScript, yes, go ahead and do that.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Okay, so definitely hop onto this website. These resources are going to be really helpful to you. And so UX guidelines. This is the portion of the resources where they're talking about like what are those paradigms or those flows, patterns that designers should follow with their plugins.
Yeah.
And right now, some of this is actually just about those modals, which is the old way of doing a plugin.
But you still think about the same concept in a panel.
Yeah.
So the API updated, or the software updated for us to use XD in the panel, but some of these guidelines haven't updated yet, so that's going to be coming shortly. But that doesn't mean that you still can't conceptualize how these would look in a panel.
Yeah.
It's just going to increase the function of them.
And so, I mean, but heads up, we are soon releasing more resources for developers to have those panel UI elements, sticker sheets, so that they can design right there for a panel UI.
Yeah, so you don't have to create them yourself.
And then documentation around like, what those patterns should look like. Look, there's ideal flows, entry point, plugin UI, really fun aspects here. We have our roadmap published online for the Extensibility team here at Adobe is talking with the community and updating this live with what they plan on integrating for what plugins can do.
And I think this is so great to like, for me, when I was about to enter this journey, I was living on the Extensibility roadmap because like it gave me an understanding of what I was able to look forward to and what I was able to like do at the time. So like certain things are now released, and that was like a really big bonus for me. So that was something that I was, I would encourage you, if you're interested in making your own plugin or designing a plugin, to look at some of these future features and the current features that are stated.
Yeah, so persistently visible UI, boom,
right.
Done.
The one I'm looking at right now is the coming soon interactions API, the right.
Yeah.
I'm currently looking into integrating the interactions API to read, which is available. But the right is something that is on the future, and then you can even think about another plugin just based on that feature.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. To help you prototype, to automatically wire your designs, for sure. Lots of potential there.
Lots of potential.
So, I mean, this might seem complex, but I mean, when you start reading some of these things, they're actually they all tie to concepts that affect you as a designer. Whether you're making plugins or not.
Right.
So I mean, the key thing to understand here is that there's a lot happening with the plugin space, and this is public, so you can just search for our Trello Extensibility roadmap, and you can see more about that there as well. And so you're focused on accessibility this summer.
We can look at my screen and take a look at a flow that I have designed, and after. Actually, let me back up, because what I wanted to show you is like just kind of like critiquing some of the current plugins that are out there and some of their behaviors, and just kind of getting your sense of how you feel that they behave, and then like just getting like my sense. Since I've been in this world wrapped up, I've been looking a lot of inspiration. So there's companies that I think are doing a pretty good job, like Icon Drop. I actually installed this and went through, but they do have an onboarding.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And so there's like a few screens where they show you. I really recommend, if you're thinking about building a plugin and you have something that's a little, like maybe it takes some learning, create an onboarding. Onboardings are a really great way to engage with your audience, to let them know exactly how to use it before they just get lost. So Icon Drop is great, because then you're able to just like drop in, insert icons wherever you want, and you can get packs. So like that's another thing that you want to look out for is like your uniformity of what you're trying to find. Like, so you want to make sure you find things that are like the same type of element, right? Like you don't want to pull in a bunch of icons that have different weights and their outlines, and some are bold. But yeah, this is a really cool, and I'm not thinking about this in general, like what it does, more of how it's designed.
Yeah. And they're utilizing that kind of wider width, so that panel can get bigger.
Right.
Your plugin can start really taking up the real estate it may need if you want to do something more complex of a workflow. And
something that like of note is a feature that isn't yet available is the ability to take this drawing or this art piece and drag it. I just clicked and it doesn't drag. So this is a feature that is a limitation currently of the API, but it's not. It's something that is in the future.
Yeah, that's definitely on the roadmap.
But it's an interaction you have to plan for when you're designing a plugin. So you click it, and then this this dialog comes up for you to insert it. So just know that you're still able to achieve these same things, but then there are limitations to the way that you expect some of these behaviors to actually interact.
Yeah, and that's really where design thrives, is within working with those constraints, right? Because as a designer, you're never going to have the ideal, like, perfect engineered, like, use case where everything is technically feasible. Like, you will have to learn how to work within some of those constraints. Oh, look at this onboarding. Yeah.
So this is a great example of a good onboarding, right? Is being able to actually see what is happening on the plugin before you start using it, and if you want to be reminded, you can always go back and look at it. So this is you'd expect something like this from Google, who are able to put together.
Google actually didn't make this one,
right?
But
they have a expectation.
True.
And so like they're going to make sure that they're contracting somebody to make this plugin in a way that is clear.
For sure.
So they also have resources. So being able to, they have quite a bit of resources. So we're able to like really understand how this plugin works before we actually use it, which is really helpful. And I love the way that they're presenting it in like a more low fidelity interface.
That's really fun.
Right, just pointing out and signaling the points that you want you to pay attention to. So that's very, very, this is a really elegant way to approach onboarding. But you can now do it in the panel. So that was on a modal. So now you can take that experience into a panel, which is what
That's the next big step.
Which I plan to do. I have just kind of giving you a preview of like what I'm doing.
What's your headspace?
So like I'm thinking of something similar and taking my plugin and putting it in the panel. And so this is kind of like some of my artboard and how I arrange things. But yeah, this is just to kind of show you how I'm planning for this this app to work, or this plugin to work. You just kind of make an interaction model, and I know the contrast is might be a little low. I'm gonna put borders around these guys for you.
Yeah. And can you tell us maybe just 1 minute, like what does your plugin actually do?
For sure. So let me give you like a little presentation.
Ooh, okay.
Right? So an inclusive experience for Adobe in the form of a plugin. So our problem is we've recognized that annotating accessibility specs is very crucial, but it's very manual, and it's a very hard process that specialized people understand how to do, but not everybody. So we want to make this process easier to be able to make sure that you're accessibly annotating your document in a way that accessible technologies can take advantage of. And another problem is when you're done with these annotations, how do you share them to developers? So we're creating a way to easily send off your content to a developer. That way they know exactly what to do and how to take action on your steps that you've created.
Yeah.
And then our goal is to create a plugin that uses that takes UX and in a more holistic fashion and thinks about it from perspectives of people that have disabilities. And so this is not just people with vision disabilities, this is people with motor disabilities that use keyboards to tab through your interactions.
Yeah.
But it's also a way to understand how not only people that have disabilities can use tools, but how people that have motor functions, but also like, what if you just break your mouse and you don't have a trackpad? Like how do you navigate a document? And how do you navigate a website? So
that should be possible
without a mouse. So just thinking of it in that way. And shout out to Carrie Schatz holding it down.
Hello.
One of the main reasons why we know what we're doing when we're starting to build a plugin.
Oh my gosh.
So just shouts out to Carrie Schatz. Thank you for being here.
Absolutely.
And
killing it.
Killing it.
Yeah.
So my design principles for this plugin was you want to make it in a way that is encouraging use. You don't want to like get people to install your plugin and just be like, I'm gonna walk away because it's hard to use.
Yeah.
So you have to make it familiar, flexible, and intuitive.
And that's so tough because this panel. This is a new paradigm for plugins, at least for XD, in terms of what workflows are we establishing for plugins to work. Like
that's exactly.
You have to select something first. Like these are mental models that designers are starting to build from scratch.
So then I wanted to show you just how you're gonna at least explain this to someone that isn't in your brain.
And so you're kind of crafting a story here.
Crafting a story around
through details.
Details and diagrams and what happens in this state. I'm not showing everything. I'm not showing like hover states. I'm not showing active buttons, just in a way for you to understand, for someone to understand who doesn't know what I know. Because like I'm so close to this and I sometimes forget.
You're designing it. Yeah.
You know? So being able to explain, like, this is a way for you to know that your artboard is selected, and being able to communicate that, and like knowing that this is a card that gets created, and this is the drop down that's associated with this card.
Yeah.
And
these kinds of what you're building out here, all your screens annotated with arrows. I mean, this is useful beyond just plugins, but any kind of design flow that you might be creating, right? As an experienced designer. As an experienced designer and an interaction designer, you want to make sure that you not only do this for yourself, so that way you can remind yourself on some of these like micro interactions, but being able to communicate them to others that are outside of your brain, because as we know, we are as designers, we're constantly thinking about these things, and we forget sometimes that not everybody else is thinking. And we have to be a communicator if we're going to have a design, right? So step by step, using patterns that are a little bit more familiar to like a mobile experience is the way I approach this. Yeah. Since I'm working in a panel that is pretty skinny, and so you can stretch it, which is great. Yeah. And but you also can control like how far people are able to stretch it, right? Okay. You can set a boundary on your objects and your components so they don't stretch past a certain width, right? Mm-hmm. And that's important to not break your design. If it can make it less confusing if like people have like this big panel and like they're only able to access like things really far apart. Yeah, absolutely. Right. And so just kind of like thinking about how you're telling your story in what you're making, and knowing that there's going to be a point where you're going to be limited by some of these the API. And so like we don't have drag and drop, so we need to be able to reorder some of these elements. Yeah. What is the API for people that maybe don't know what that terminology means? So the Extensibility API is the way that these plugins are released to public for us to make plugins for Adobe XD. And nested within that are other APIs, like this one is the Interaction API that we just spoke about. Yeah. That allows us to no, this isn't the Interaction API. This API is based on the drag and drop and the inability to select objects. Yeah. So I mean, those APIs are really what XD is opening the doors on for plugins to be able to change in the design. Like the APIs are what drives the capability of the plugin, right? So your plugin can't just do anything and everything. The plugin is working within the constraints of the API, if that makes sense. Right. And so this feature is, we need to be able to reorganize some of these tab orders, and the idea is we ideally would want to be able to drag this one to this one, and it would just switch the ordering, but we're going to use this focus order drop down, change the number, and then it'll replace the one below it. So as opposed to what you might expect, like drag and drop to reorder a list, right? That's just a drop down. Yeah, and I prototyped this so I could show you. How fun. I'm curious to hear from the chat room, like what kind of plugins would you design for XD? Or what kind of plugins do you kind of like, I'm thinking crazy, like what would you, like if you could put anything inside of XD, what would you put in there? And Julian and I were brainstorming on this. That's a good question. Earlier. Yeah, because we don't have tons of time left, and we didn't get to talk about. We had this idea where like, what if you could have Spotify inside plugin XD? Yeah. And like, what if you could create like a plugin that was essentially what your friends were listening to on Spotify and your current playlist on Spotify. You could technically make something like that happen. Yeah. And just thinking like other ways. Poolside.fm. Poolside.fm. Like as a plugin. Could you imagine that? Or like, and thinking in the future of like when collaboration enters the space. How can we play like tic-tac-toe? Oh my gosh. In a plugin. Or Snake. With our collaborators, maybe? Yeah, with your collaborators. Why not? Break up the monotony of work sometimes and enjoy a game. That would be so fun. In a plugin. Submit your plugin ideas in the chat here. I would love to take them to the team and just I don't know, the craziest ones.
Like a plugin that exports real corn dogs.
A plugin that exports real, fresh, crispy corn dogs.
Or and not just all beef, but turkey.
Yeah. Oh, of course. Right. And vegan.
Yeah.
Beyond the meat, right? Absolutely. That's our half hour for designing Adobe XD this Friday. You'll be seeing more of us. I know it.
Yeah, I'll be back for sure.
So will I.
Wake.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for all the engagement in the chat. We will see you soon, and we can't wait to see how this plugin landscape continues to progress. You can follow us on Twitter. I'm sam.design. Do you tweet? No?
Instagram, @HiddenJewels.
Instagram, @HiddenJewels. See you all there, and talk to you soon. Peace out.